So hi everyone, welcome to Knowledge Tree. So as this is my first video, let me introduce you guys with the concept of this channel. So here at Knowledge Tree, I will be trying to provide you guys with the content for UPSC mains exam, and my approach will be like more static oriented. I will try to cover all of the static portion for the UPSC mains exam while leaving the optional. So at first I will take up the GS3 syllabus, and in that syllabus I will take up the economics section first. So this is the table of content. Like I will try to comprehend you guys with the path that we are going to follow, and we will start today with the first module, that is economic growth and development, and then we will take up the Indian economy, then some microeconomic concepts of economics, then national income, then monetary policy, then financial institutions and the problems related with them, then banking, then financial inclusion, cashless economy, like some contemporary topics. Then we will take up the financial markets, derivative shares, bonds, etc. Then we will take up the taxation, GST and other reforms, then government budgeting, then the industry section, then economic planning and reforms, then agriculture, then investment models, then balance of payment, then convertibility, exchange rate system, and foreign investment, followed by foreign trade. So these are the like headings in which I will cover up the syllabus for economics. So let's get started. So first let me introduce you guys with the term economics. What is economics? So economics is the study of production. Economics is the study of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services in a society. Let's say we live in a utopian society in which these three people are the citizens of the society, and these bananas are the only resource that is being produced. So the production of these bananas, the distribution and consumption of these bananas among the society, and the study of this wholesome process is economics. So again, let me repeat it for you. Economics is the study of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services in a society. Goods and services can be in any form. So, Adam Smith. Adam Smith is also known as father of modern economics for his contribution. Like he wrote a book that is very famous, and questions are asked from this book also, like who wrote this book. So the name of the book was An Inquiry into the Nature and the Causes of Wealth of Nations, also popularly known as Wealth of Nations. Why this book? Why this particular book is of significance? It is significant because it was the first book that was like it was the first systematic book that was entirely based on economics, and after this book the subject economics emerged. Many of you might want to argue like Arthashastra was the first book, but Arthashastra was a political book that contained a chapter about economic conditions that were prevalent at that time. But this book named Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith is a like particular book that is dedicated to economics only. You know. So what is the major concern for economics? Like in chemistry, we deal with the reactions and the compounds, elements, etc. Or in biology, we deal with life. You know. So, what is the major concern for economics? Economics is concerned with optimal allocation of resources to maximize the human welfare. So here, some terms are very important, like optimal allocation of resources. And what is the like objective of this optimal allocation? It is to maximize the human welfare, and then resource allocation is the core issue to enhance the well-being. So I will illustrate it with an example. Suppose these 4 mangoes are being produced in a country, so we can say that these 4 mangoes are the resources of the country, and these 2 little guys over here are the citizens of the society. So how can we optimally allocate these available resources among these citizens of the society to ensure their welfare? If we, let's say, let me name them. Suppose this one is Chinky and this one is Minky. If we give all 4 mangoes to Chinky, won't be Minky's welfare compromised? Obviously. So we have to distribute these mangoes uh, optimally to ensure the benefit, the welfare of these Chinky and Minky. So we will distribute them among them equally. Economy versus economics. So I have listened it, I have heard it quite often times, like people tends to use economy and economics interchangeably, but that's not right. Economy is economics of a particular area. Like when we have a system that is under observation and we observe the economic activities that are happening in that particular area, then it's the economy of that system or that particular area. Let's take an example of India. So that economic activities that are taking place in the domain of India, they will wholesome result into the Indian economy. Like Indian economy is the net sum of all the economic activities that are happening in its domestic territory. So economy and economics are 2 different things. Economics refers to the study of the production, distribution, and like consumption of the resources, while economy refers to the study of economics in a particular area. So economics can be divided into microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics is like when we take into account a particular unit of the whole system. Suppose you like take an example of income of a person. If we take into account just the income of a person, that's only one, a single unit that we are taking into account. So that's a microeconomic component, and microeconomic concepts components are makes up the macroeconomic systems. When we take into account the whole system, suppose we take into account the economy of a nation or state or a village, there are multiple microeconomic activities that are happening simultaneously, and the net sum of these microeconomic activities or the net sum of these microeconomic concepts makes up the macroeconomics. you know so now the heading of this module is economic growth and development. We will try to touch a few things in these in this lecture. So economic growth. What is economic growth? Economic growth refers to process of increase in production of goods and services in an economy over a long period of time. Let's say we will take up an example. Just like, what is growth? Growth is simply increase. If let's say you have 10 pence and tomorrow you are having 12 pence, so what is the growth in number of pence? That is 20%. Like, it is expressible in percentage. So the second definition is persistent increase in real GDP or per capita income. So why have I used the term real GDP? Like, is there any fake GDP also? So I will illustrate it with an example. Suppose in a country, the country only produces pens. That's penland. So in penland only pens are being produced. Let's say in year 2021, the number of pens, the quantity of pens being produced was only 10. Oh, sorry, the price of pen was 10 rupees, and the quantity of pens being produced in the country was 100. So what will be the GDP? GDP is simply the product of quantity and the price of the goods and services that are being produced in the nation. So the GDP will be like 1000 rupees here, while in 2022, suppose the pen's price increased by 10% and became 11 rupees per pen, and the quantity of pen was also increased. So the new quantity being produced is 110. So what will be the GDP? The GDP will be like the product of both these quantity and price. So now in 2022 the GDP is 1210. So what is the increase in GDP? Like if I say GDP has increased 21%, is it right? Like does it reflect the real growth? So the answer is no. The real growth is like reflected by when we compare the quantity only. You know, when we remove the impact of increased price from the GDP, then only we can like evaluate the real growth. So the real growth is here only 10%. From 100, the number of pens being produced became 110. So the real growth is only 10%, while the nominal growth is 21%. So next is economic development. What is economic development? Economic development refers to a process of economic growth which is accompanied by improvement of well-being of people. So what is economic development? Like what is well-being of people? If someone is fed properly, like if people are hungry and our growth is like booming, are we economically developed? Obviously no. So economic development takes into account socio-economic conditions, you know, and economic development refers to the progressive change in socio-economic structure of an economy. So what are the things that are included in economic development? They are as following, like living conditions. If someone is living in very poor state, suppose like can't afford clean fuel or like potable water, or so the living condition is poor. So it is the person is facing underdevelopment, and the society can't be said to be developed. And the second concept is education. Education is very important for development. Then health. Can a sick person be like achieve anything he wants? Obviously no. Like health is a major constraint, na? Like if you are not healthy, how can you optimally do your work? Then science and technology. Science and technology helps in like research and development, and like the innovative practices that reduces the like impact on the resources and environment. Then economy and finances. Suppose if a country is like in very poor state, uh, they do not have finances, and like how can they spend on the other aspects? A strong economy is needed now. So these are few things that makes up for the socio-economic development or economic development. So now difference between economic growth and development. Economic growth simply means increase in production, like we earlier saw there the pen example in which the 10% growth was indicated just by the increase in number of pens produced. Economic development refers to increase in production plus social welfare. Social welfare here is a key point and key difference. Economic growth is unidimensional. Why unidimensional? Because it focuses only upon the like production, the productivity, the production capacity. If these things are up, that means the economic growth is happening. And while economic development is a multi-dimensional concept, as it includes social welfare, and social welfare is a like a very big umbrella term. It includes education, health, living condition, income level, economy, state of mind, even psychological things are included in this. Then economic growth is quantifiable. So economic growth can be expressed in like numbers, as in the pen example I expressed it in numbers, like from 10 to from 100 to 110 the quantity increased, and the quantity increased was by 10%. So I told you earlier, like the economic growth was 10% for this period of time, while economic development is a qualitative concept. So I will illustrate a qualitative concept with an example of your health. Your health is a qualitative concept. So if you are like say you are sick and you are admitted in an hospital, suppose one of your relative comes to visit you and he asks you how sick are you, like how are you feeling. Will you be able to express your uh, you know a disease, or like in terms of numbers? Will you say at him like I am at 75 HP today, health points? That's a gaming concept. So like you can't express it in numbers. Or when you become well off and you are discharged from hospital and the same person asks you again how are you now, like will you say I am 10% better than yesterday? Obviously no, you will say I am better or I am good. It's a qualitative concept, so it's hard to explain in number. And then economic growth is a means of attaining economic development. So this way, and while economic development is objective for economic growth, so means of attaining economic development. Why so? Let's say if we are focusing upon growth. So what good is the growth if it is not accompanied by the well-being of people? We need to ensure the well-being of people too, na? So the means of attaining economic development is economic growth, because without finances we can't support the developmental infrastructure that are needed for economic development. While economic development is the objective of economic growth, like why do we need to grow? To improve the well-being of people, welfare of the state. So we are focusing upon economic growth to attain economic development. uh, let's say economic growth is a path to reach the destination of economic development. So economic development is a destination. uh, Indicators. So the economic growth is indicated by very simple indicators like real GDP, real per capita income, etc. While economic development uses quite complex indicators like HDI, Human Development Index, the Gross Happiness Index. So these indicators are quite complex, and we will talk about them in later lectures. And the third one is gender gap index here. So now the next concept is of inclusive growth. What is inclusive growth? Let's talk about these cartoons first. In cartoon A, there is a very fat man that is shown controlling over the production facilities, and he is, though he is like very obese, but he is being fed with the available resources. He is taking up much of the stew while other people are starving here. So in this situation, like, can you say growth is happening? Let's suppose the production might be increasing. You can't say that the growth is not happening. So growth can be there, but is this a desirable thing? And let's say in this second cartoon, which this rich guy is shown by the buffed up upper body, while slender waist and like very skinny legs are there, which represents the other two stratas of the society. So are these conditions desirable? Ask yourself. If every resource is available for rich and the poor suffer, what good will be the growth if well-being of people is not ensured? So uh, there comes the concept of inclusive growth. Economic growth Inclusive growth is economic growth that is fairly distributed across society and creates opportunities for all. These two terms, fairly distributed and opportunities for all, are two important concepts for aspects of inclusive growth. And in them, for achieving these, like fair distribution and opportunity for all, employment generation is a very important aspect of inclusive growth. So inclusive growth means like the participation of the general public must be ensured in the economic growth. And what do we mean by participation? Participation refers to like they are uh, part of the forces that are uh, responsible for economic growth, and they reaps the benefit of economic growth too. Like And how is this possible? Like, how can general public participate in the process of economic growth? So there are two things for it. First is increasing employability. Employability refers to the, like, a person's capacity to be employed. You know, suppose you are not healthy, are you employable? Obviously no, because you won't be as efficient as an healthy worker. And suppose you don't have a required skill, that is like to operate a machinery you need a qualification or a skill, and you don't possess that. Are you employable for that purpose? Obviously no. So increasing employability and employment generation are two important parts of making the, like, to ensure participation of public. So for increasing employability, health centers, education, and vocational skills training, etc., should be imparted to the general public. While employment generation, like the programs of Manrega and you know like investment in the capital sectors, like capital investments, so to establish more manufacturing plants that will generate employment. So these things leads to inclusive growth. So components of inclusive growth, uh, like these are the things that are related to inclusive growth, are like benefit of inclusive growth, over just normal growth. So first one is employment generation. As I earlier told you, that employment generation is a must condition for ensuring inclusive growth. Then reduction in poverty. If everyone is employed, then like everyone will have a minimum requirement fulfilled by the salary, and equal opportunity for all, and women empowerment. So why women empowerment is necessary to ensure inclusive growth? It's cause like the 50% of our population is comprised of women, and if women are not included in the party in the like if women are not taking part in the participative process, will the process be participative? Like, will the process remain participative? Obviously no. 50% of the population is excluded from the growth, then it's not inclusive growth. Then access to basic amenities. Everyone should have the basic amenities accessible to, like in the cartoon, the stew was only served to the obese capitalist guy, while the general public starved. So the basic amenities of food, education, healthcare should be accessible to all. Then skill development is also necessary for inclusive growth. So let me illustrate all of the things that I have talked about today. Suppose this is you, like, or suppose this guy is the economy of a nation. So, and this metal road uh, represents inclusive growth, and this muddy road represents the economic growth without inclusion. And this is the destination, that is economic development. So which path will you take to your destination? Ultimate goal is obviously economic development, but which path is better, inclusive growth or like the this muddy path or this metal road? Obviously you will want to take this metal road. So inclusive growth is like taking this metal road over this muddy road to reach your destination of this economic development. Let me try to explain it to you guys again. Now, suppose this person is the economics. So like, suppose you are this person. Put yourself in this position. You have to go your home. That's your objective. And these two options are available to you. One road is of economic growth, and it doesn't include the general population, while other option or other path available is this metal road, which means inclusive growth, and the destination is obviously the economic development. So destination is same, economic development, but the path also matters now. If you take this path, you will like suffer more, and the welfare will be like compromised of some sections of the society, while over this road the welfare of everyone will be ensured now. Like, this is like a good road to lead to the objective. That's why inclusive growth is necessary. So thanks, this was all about today's lecture. And if you guys have any doubts, do comment them in the comment box. So thank you once again, and like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. So thanks.